Stephen HiltnerThe New York Times. The first issue of Education Life, a black-and-white tabloid of 80 pages, featured an article with the headline "The Care and Feeding of Undergraduates." It talked about the fancy new stadiums mushrooming across the country, the abundance of career-related programs, and the stressed-out students hunkered down in the library in hopes of securing a high-paying corporate job. The year was 1986. Gordon Gekko was just around the corner. As I stepped down as editor of Education Life after almost 20 years, 2/3 of its lifespan, I've been reflecting on the evolution of higher education, our long-standing focus, or its lack thereof. In 2017, students are still stressed out, the amenities arms race has not abated, and the liberal arts continues to lose ground to business, and now tech. Plus see a change. With their glacial pace toward progress, the hunger for prestige, and the liberal partisanship, colleges and universities are hair-pullingly flawed enterprises. Just look at the bounty of ivory tower hand-wringers on Amazon, with reform in the title. There are just too many colleges out there, all vying for the best students. There are too many large lecture halls, and too many lost students. It costs too much. But while college is under siege as never before, in a first, a majority of Republicans hold negative views of higher education. According to a July Pew Research Center survey, American academia remains the envy of the world, and we too often fail to celebrate its success in growing our children, training our doctors, inspiring our innovators, and fueling our urban economies. It's a tall order. State funding of public universities is on track to reach zero in less than 20 years in some states, and as soon as 6 in Colorado and 9 in Alaska, as Laura Papineau wrote last year in an article on the plight of public universities. Ed Life, in the in-house vernacular, has tried to explain this complex world. A 2014 Education Week column called the section a slightly eccentric handout, as well as a welcome visitor every 3 months and unique among newspaper supplements as a repository of quality journalism. Just consider the contributors, among them Frank McCourt, Henry Louis Gates Jr., Lawrence H. Summers, Clayton M. Christensen, Steven Pinker, David Leonhardt, Duff McDonald, James Traub, Michael Weinrip, Caitlin Flanagan, Charlene Huntergo, Brian Stelter, Andrew Ross Sorkin at age 22. As I leaf through back issues, flipping through the college careers of Gen X's to Millennials to Gen Z's, I see much that provides perspective on what campuses wrestle with even today. In 2008, Kevin Sachs oaked up pre-game rituals in Gainesville, Florida, to report on how colleges wage battle against binge drinking, as insidious now as it was a decade ago. His opening passage at is 10:30 a.m., 2 hours before the Florida Gators will kick off to Ole Miss, and Max, a 19-year-old freshman, is laboring to explain how he feels about the drinking age. Personally, he says, punching out each slurred syllable, I do agree the age should be lowered. It will cut down on binge drinking. He throws an arm around a fraternity brother. But we take care of each other. We will not let anyone drink under the influence. He pauses. I mean drive under the influence. I'm sorry. I'm drunk already. It's been a long morning. Ed Life covered early and often the emotional strain on students, especially with the dawn of social media. In a powerful portrait in 2015 that has drawn several million readers, Julie Selfo wrote of Catherine Jewett, then a freshman at the University of Pennsylvania, dangling this cliffhanger despite her cheery countenance and assiduous completion of assignments. Ms. Dewey had already bought razor blades and written a stack of goodbye letters to loved ones. She researched whether the university returned tuition to parents of students who by suicide. We returned over and over to the matter of race on campus. In the aftermath of unrest in 2015 at the University of Missouri, John Elegon nailed the problem in this paragraph. College officials have spent decades rolling out one initiative after the next, from scholarships to summer bridge programs to race-conscious admissions, to attract students from underrepresented populations. Since 1980, the percentage of blacks and Hispanics among those attending higher education institutions has more than doubled, from 13% to 28% in 2014, while the white population has dipped to about 52% from 84%. Yet administrators might have been missing a trickier truth. Diversity is one thing, inclusion is another. And if free speech is today's hot-button issue, with the Justice Department itself taking a stand on the controversy, consider this 1999 article by Ethan Bronner in which faculty members at the University of Wisconsin wonder how to assure the freedom to discourse on Hitler's Mein Kampf but not to allow use of the word Jew as a verb. The question on the floor, and it is being mulled on hundreds of campuses across the country, from the University of California to Bowdoin College in Maine, was how to promote such fearless sifting while still creating a welcoming environment for groups that have historically felt slighted at American universities. For while robust intellectual inquiry is a self-stated goal of every university, so too is creating a diverse and tolerant nation. I count these concerns, along with UAL assault, the cost of college and the nation's poor graduation rate 41% in 4 years, among the most important of the last few decades. Our stories covering these issues are worth a revisit. In 2002, in an award from the Education Writers Association, the judges wrote The New York Times for years has offered a rich mix of news, features, human interest, reviews and service journalism in its quarterly education section. They have sustained this high-quality effort through the thick and thin of advertising, a real credit to the newspaper. The eccentric aunt has grown thinner over the years. This is the last you'll see of her as you know her. But the Times promises to continue its commitment to education. A new section will appear sometime next year, just as, 30 years ago, Education Life replaced a triannual called the Survey of Education. Consider it all part of a continuum. Plus Cestla Meme chose. Jane Carr is the editor of Education Life. A version of this article appears in print on November 5, 2017, on page ED2 of Education Life with the headline Enduring Issues.